opportunities, possibilities.
Good morning to all of you. We are happy to have a new start today and to welcome again Professor Dr. Mario Hibert from University of Sarajevo, the keynote speaker at the conference of Seventh-day Adventist Association of Librarians in Europe. So we will have the opportunity to listen his third lecture entitled "The Growth Donut in Libraries: Rethinking Sustainability Goals." Welcome, Dr. Mario.
Thank you very much. Thank you again. We are going to continue with our sessions. I'm glad that you are still interested in what I'm having to say. Like yesterday, I was also inspired with the words of dedicated to our sessions, to our conference, and today's Josif somehow encouraged me to connect his words to what I'm having to say today also, because he was speaking about the limits, and that's exactly what I'm going to tackle in this presentation. I don't know how familiar you are with the concept of degrowth. So the degrowth is actually putting the limits to the growth. So
our salary, degrowth, comparing with prices, so we are
yeah, but degrowth is also a theory and a social movement, and somehow the practice or model which stands for limiting the endless growth of today's capitalist economies. So that's how I'm going to contextualize the concepts of degrowth within the library sciences and especially librarianship. That's why I entitled my presentation in this way. But this other somehow unfamiliar or strange word here, donut, belongs to the concept of donut economy. So I'm going to explain a bit these concepts before I introduce them into the field of library science. So my first contact or experience with the concepts of degrowth trace back 10 years ago. And in 2018, I published a book that I named "The Digital Degrowth and Post-Digital Commons." So it was the beginning of my research of these concepts. And what I'm going to present today is something that I'm currently working on. But not alone. I'm doing it with my teaching assistant at the University of Sarajevo, Feđa Kulenović, and my former PhD student, who is actually he has written his PhD thesis on donut economy, the concept of donut economy, using it to demonstrate how to put the donut economy in practice as a tool to remodel the strategies for of sustainability, let's say. So, and his name is Safet Kubat. So with them, I somehow try to place these concepts into the field of libraries, and we had a month ago presentation of this these concepts and our projects and our future idea regarding this topic in Dubrovnik, in Croatia, at the Libraries and Digital Age conference. So I'm going to actually use this presentation in a way to share with you these ideas. So what I discovered recently is that librarianship discussions, when it goes to the topic of sustainability and ecology and inequality, often lack political ecology perspectives, as you have been experiencing yesterday in my previous lectures. I'm somehow I was pointing on political background of technology and political economy of technology, and now I'm going to use the political ecology perspective in behind as a background for those concepts that I'm going to present. So sustainability, resilience, and regeneration are most of the time emphasized even within the librarianship field, but planetary and social limits to grow are rarely tackled. And for that reason, I have a question now: what role can libraries play in the growth future? So for the beginning, I'll just briefly explain what political ecology stands for. Political ecology is an interdisciplinary field that critically examines the relationship between political, economic, and social factors and their impact on environmental issues and changes. It focuses on how power relations shape access to natural resources and influence environmental outcomes, revealing disparities and injustices in the distribution of environmental costs and benefits. So the political ecology also, same as the critical pedagogy, tackles the power relations. And in this case especially, the influence how the power relations shape access to natural resources and influence environmental outcomes. So political ecology explores how environmental problems are constructed through discourses and meanings within political economic structures, aiming to understand who benefits and who loses from environmental policies and practices. So it's not, let's say, black and white position that whenever we speak about environmental policies, ecologies, and practices, that we are on a safe track in terms that power relations are left outside this discourse. So the climate crisis and green transition involves still huge negotiations in terms of power disbalances. So that's exactly how the political ecology focuses or refocuses on outcomes of those struggles in the field of environmentalism. And I'm going to, for that reason, somehow frame the basic theoretical and key concepts for this topic. Of course, for the sake of repoliticizing sustainability discourse, we are going to use critical theory and critical approach again. I'll briefly explain the concept of donut economics, which is a model for balancing social and planetary boundaries. And it was introduced by Kate Raworth in 2017. And degrowth theory, which stands for scientific and activist research to limit economic growth. So I'm aiming here on framing the understanding of degrowth and donut economics in order to rethink sustainability goals in line with core library values. So libraries could utilize the domain of political ecology for its institutional redesign and innovation. And before we do that, or we start thinking about that, we should be reminding ourselves on core critical librarianship points, which is anti-capitalist resistant to appropriation, competition, accumulation, consumerism, mercantilism, extractivism, and advocating for common goods, public and collective interests of society. And the digital degrowth is a radical critique of the digital economy and its role in exacerbating ecological and social crises. It merges the principles of degrowth with an analysis of digital capitalism and colonialism, advocating for systemic transformation to create a sustainable and egalitarian digital society. So what we have been doing yesterday somehow fits to the concepts and the theory of digital degrowth, recently and framed by the Michael Quett in his book named The Digital Degrowth. So what is a degrowth? Degrowth is a planned and democratic movement advocating for intentional reduction of material and energy use in production and consumption to align human activities with ecological limits. It challenges the dominant growth-centered economic paradigm, emphasizing social justice, well-being, and ecological sustainability rather than continuous economic expansion. So the degrowth promotes a qualitative shift toward an economy that satisfies human needs within planetary boundaries, focusing on fairness, care, autonomy, and democratic decision-making to ensure a balanced and equitable distribution of resources and benefits. And a tool, let's say, for achieving the degrowth aims, what could be use of donut economics. So I will be briefly explaining the basics of donut economics, and it is exactly why I mentioned earlier that I collaborate with my colleagues in this field, because I'm trying to frame and include those concepts and ideas, but I also need the specialist experts in the field in order to properly use it as for the sake of our research goals. So Donut economics is a framework developed by economist Kate Rafford that aims to create a regenerative and distributive economy where humanity can prosper within ecological limits. It is also a visual framework for sustainable development designed by economist Kate Rafford. It aims to balance human needs with planetary boundaries, and this is how it actually looks like. And that is why it's called donut, because it has a hole inside, like a real donut. So this strange name, donut economy, is somehow easy to explain, because we see inner circle stands for the social foundation, and the outer circle stands for the ecological ceiling, the planetary boundaries. And the safe space would be the safe and just space for humanity is what is in between the ecological ceiling and social foundation. So we can see how it could be thinner or thicker in terms of our overshooting of the inner or outer boundaries. So outer ring, which represents the ecological ceiling, represents planetary boundaries that must not be exceeded to ensure environmental sustainability, such as climate change, biodiversity loss, and pollution. Because overshooting these limits causes environmental degradation. So this tool, this concept, actually helps us track the footprint of our doings and wrongdoings, let's say, because 9 boundaries, ecological boundaries, are already 3 or 4 of 9 are already overshot. And inner ring, which represents the social foundation, is representing the basic human needs, the minimum standard of well-being, like a healthcare, access to education, food, clean water, decent housing, and equity. And falling short here leads to deprivation. So the safe and just space for humanity lies between these rings, where social needs are met without exceeding ecological limits. So this concept of donut economy of Kate Rafford was a way to introduce the, let's say, solidary economics, to think, as she was saying, to think as an economist of the 21st century, facing the environmental issues and climate crisis, etc. So this approach shifts focus from GDP growth to creating a regenerative and distributive economy that ensures well-being for all while respecting the planetary limits. So, in order to measure the impact, to measure the footprint, to measure the pressure that we, by living and doing, pose on the planet and the social body of our societies, she used the indicators. So social foundation indicators are health, including life expectancy, infant mortality rate, access to healthcare services, education, literacy rate, school enrollment rates, educational attainment levels, income, median income, poverty rate, the income inequality, equality, gender pay gap, representation in leadership position, access to justice, social equity, measures of discrimination, social mobility, access to social services, and indicators measuring ecological ceiling would be the climate change, including carbon emissions, greenhouse gas concentrations, global temperature increase, biodiversity loss, species extinction rates, habitat loss, protected area coverage, land degradation, including soil erosion rates, deforestation rates, desertification extent, freshwater depletion, water usage rates, groundwater levels, water quality, pollution, air quality indices, water pollution levels, chemical contamination. So we started with, if we start with this concept of donut economics, it could be used as a tool as Kate Raworth envisaged it, and using the indicators for, as I said before, regenerative and distributive economy. But degrowthers somehow found the limitations of this donut economy and were not mostly satisfied with the way how it has been using. So they modified the initial concept using the degrowth theory and degrowth agenda on the top of the donut economy model. So if we remind ourselves what is the degrowth, its underpinning premise is a rejection of ongoing economic growth as the dominant basis for societal progress and or human welfare. So the degrowth is at the same time a theory, a movement, and it has its own vocabulary. The term refers to a social movement, but also as a conceptual framework for presenting a different way of using and transforming resources on planet Earth. And degrowth is a school of thought opposing the dominant economic and productivistic pattern. The term itself refers to a social movement, but also conceptual framework for presenting a different way of using and transforming resources on planet Earth. Standing in opposition to the dominant economic productivistic pattern, rather than endorse the ever-increasing production of goods and services, degrowth pursues an equitable downscaling of economic production and consumption. In this sense, degrowth can be seen as a promoting an overly post-capitalist agenda seeking to develop alternatives to market forces as the primary organizing force in our societies. So that's why I said in the beginning that this presentation relates to what Josip was talking about earlier. So degrowth somehow invites us to question the limits of growth, but also invites us to think about the way of living to not just invites us to think about way of our living which redesigns the mainstream growth agenda, which is based on the endless idea of endless growth, endless resources. So distancing from the imperatives of growth or unquestioned dogma of growth is particularly important to understand why and how the degrowth is seen, because the growth itself is seen as a secular equivalent to religious dogma. Degrowth calls for a radical rethinking of how communities choose to do things, as well as the resources they draw upon in order to do these things. Central to this approach are values such as simplicity, slowing down, and the foregrounding of local approaches toward co-production and sharing. So that's how the degrowth concept challenges the dogma of growth, of endless capitalistic growth. And it's also why the snail was chosen for the icon or emblem for the movement. So I here have a quote from Giorgio Callis explaining the degrowth he says, at the same time, it is an emphasis on communities working together to experiment and refine grassroots practices that are appropriate to their local context and circumstances. In these ways, then, degrowth raises ideas such as voluntary simplicity, a conscious minimization of resource consumption, and purposefully slowing things down in order to minimize harm to humans and Earth systems. So, for the sake of being clearer in exposing you to these concepts, I would try to compare the donut economy and the degrowth donut economy, which differs in its approach to achieving the balance between social and ecological boundaries. Degrowth donut model explicitly rejects the pursuit of economic growth, prioritizing reduction and redistribution to achieve sustainability and justice. So, traditional donut model and the degrowth donut model are different in some substantial points. So if we focus on economic growth, traditional donut model its framework does not explicitly reject economic growth, but emphasizes achieving social foundations while staying within the planetary boundaries. So it would be, let's say, the green capitalism. We still pursue growth, but we want to stay within the planetary boundaries. It allows for a growth as long as it occurs within the safe and just space between the inner and outer rings. But the degrowth donut model explicitly advocates for reducing production and consumption, particularly in wealthy nations, to actively shrink ecological overshoot. It views economic growth as inherently unsustainable within the planetary limits and prioritizes redistribution and reduction of excess. So you see the basic differences in, let's say, of green capitalism and the degrowth concept. Yeah. In terms of tools versus agenda, traditional donut model and degrowth donut model differs in this way. Traditional donut model serves primarily as a tool for policymakers to map social deficits and ecological overshoots, aiming to guide sustainable development without prescribing specific methods to achieve it. But the degrowth donut model goes further by providing an agenda for action, emphasizing systemic changes such as reducing overconsumption, promoting localized economies, and addressing wealth inequality. In terms of approaching to the redistribution, traditional donut model focuses on meeting social needs globally, but does not explicitly address the redistribution of resources of wealth as a primary strategy. The degrowth donut model places redistribution as its core, targeting overconsumption by affluent groups and advocating for equitable access to resources while reducing environmental harm. And in terms of implementation, traditional donut model has been adopted by cities like Amsterdam and Copenhagen. I think also Hamburg was close to it, to create policies that align with sustainable development goals while allowing for economic activity within the donut's boundaries. But degrowth donut model suggests transformative changes in lifestyle, production systems, and consumption patterns, aiming for deliberate reduction in economic activity to achieve sustainability. So we see, as it was shown in the title of this presentation, rethinking sustainability is here on focus. So rethinking sustainability within with degrowth and donut economics is primarily focused, let's say, on challenging sustainable development goals. Degrowth critiques SDGs for prioritizing economic development. SDGs promote neoliberal values and maintain global hierarchies, as Weber put it. So decoupling refers to breaking the link between the economic growth and environmental pressure or resource use. The goal is to allow economies to grow, measured by GDP, without causing corresponding increases in environmental harm such as pollution, resource depletion, or biodiversity loss. Decoupling in sustainability refers to breaking the link between economic growth and environmental degradation. This aims to achieve economic development without increasing resource consumption or environmental harm. Degrowth perceives decoupling as a fantasy, primarily because empirical evidence shows that absolute decoupling, where economic growth continues without increasing environmental impact on the scale needed, is not occurring or is largely illusory. Degrowth advocates argue that apparent decoupling in high-income countries often results from outsourcing environmental harm to poorer countries through the global trade, rather than genuine reductions in global resource use or emissions. So this was kind of a background framework I needed to mention before we start thinking about donut economy or degrowth in libraries. And a few years ago, while I was mentoring my PhD student working on donut economy PhD thesis, I myself I asked myself, how is it already perceived in librarianship as a useful tool? And I found that only one article exists, and it's published in this volume, Libraries and Sustainability, Programs and Practices for Community Impact. It's written by Antonelli et al., named Conceptual Integration in Library Practices, Libraries in Donut Economy. And recently, it was actually published 2 months ago, I wrote upon this initial idea, myself the article, but it's in Croatian, it's not in English. Exploring how libraries can embody donut economic principles by transitioning from traditional growth-oriented models to regenerative and distributive designs. Libraries are positioned as leaders in fostering sustainable practices and breaking societal addiction to growth-driven economies. Because why? The library is a non-profit institution. Library can't pursue the goal of profit as its fundamental background for their services and their function. So in that article is explained the transition to regenerative and distributive design within the libraries. So I am presenting here first findings of those group of authors, that libraries can shift away from growth-driven models and adopt regenerative practices that prioritize community well-being and environmental sustainability. This includes creating programs and services that support social equity while minimizing ecological impact. Libraries can serve as educational centers for circular economy initiatives, hosting workshops and resources that encourage sustainable consumption patterns. They can collaborate with local governments and businesses to integrate circular models into community practices. Libraries can act as spaces for participatory decision-making aligned with donut principles. This involves engaging diverse stakeholders in discussion about sustainability and equitable resource distribution. And libraries can provide resources and programs that educate the public on donut economics, such as workshops, book clubs, or exhibitions showcasing sustainable practices and regenerative economic models. So the donut economy model has been applied already in libraries, even if it was not named donut economy in libraries, but in different initiatives. For example, one of the most known is Library of Things, which integrates the donut economy principles to promote borrowing over buying, reducing material consumption and fostering circular economies. So Library of Things is a library where you can borrow different, not just books, but different tools, different devices. Yeah. So in itself, Library of Things aims to make borrowing better than a buying. And in that terms, of course, we can even stretch more and more the concept of library as platform, library as infrastructure, not for only borrowing of books, but different items that could be of use for the communities the library serve. And my colleagues and I were trying to somehow adopt and use the donut economy model and especially degrowth donut model as a practical example to show and measure also within the city library of Zenica. It's a town near Sarajevo, because my PhD candidate was from Zenica, and he was very eager to apply to libraries in his hometown in order to showcase evidence of transformative opportunity to reshape community engagement around sustainability. So strategic tool, donut economy could be seen as a strategic tool for libraries as one of the public services, putting a spotlight on their wider social role as mediators and upper-mediators between the communities and decision maker. Key components of degrowth donut methodology do not just enhance the library services offerings, but also contribute significantly to a more equitable and sustainable future. So, indicators we could use and measure in this context shows how well the library supports social needs, for example, education, equity, community, while minimizing environmental impact, energy use, waste management. So for the inner ring, social indicators would be access to knowledge and education, inclusivity in services, for example, accessibility for disabled individuals, community engagement through events or programs, employment opportunities within the library. And environmental indicators would be energy efficiency of operations, waste reduction strategies, for example, recycling programs, use of sustainable materials in infrastructure, carbon footprint of library activities, etc. So potential social indicators for library specific donut economy model could be, in terms of education and knowledge, literacy rates, percentage of the community that is literate, information literacy measured by surveys assessing the ability to evaluate information critically, use of library, in terms of use of library resources, number of books borrowed, digital resources accessed, the program attendance, in terms of lifelong learning, number of adults participating in library workshops and courses. In the context of community and social connection, in terms of social capital measured through surveys on community trust and participation, in terms of community engagement, number of community groups using library spaces, in terms of digital inclusion, number of people accessing the internet and digital literacy programs at library, in terms of social cohesion tracked via surveys on community connectedness and inclusivity. In terms of equity and accessibility, percentage of the population within the physical and digital access to library services, inclusivity, representation of diverse groups in library programs and staffing. In terms of equity of access, usage rates among marginalized populations, for example, low-income minorities. In terms of resource distribution, analysis of resource allocation to ensure equitable distribution across different library branches and communities. So, in the context of indicator that belongs to health and well-being, in terms of mental well-being, tracked through the surveys on the impact of library programs on mental health, health information access, number of health-related resources accessed, in terms of stress reduction measured by participation in mindfulness and relaxation programs at the library. It's maybe exactly what you did in your presentation yesterday. In the context of culture and creativity, in terms of cultural participation, attendance at library cultural events and exhibitions, in terms of creative expression, participation in creative writing, workshops, art programs, and other creative activities offered by the library, in terms of preservation of local knowledge, number of local history resources accessed and preserved. So these would be for the part of the social indicators, inner ring of the donut. For the potential environmental indicators of library-specific donut economic model, we could use in the context of energy use, total energy consumption measured in kilowatt hours per year, renewable energy use, percentage of total energy consumption for renewable sources. In terms of energy intensity, energy consumption per square foot of library space. In terms of energy efficiency measured through the energy audits and efficiency upgrades. In the context of the waste and resource management indicators, potential indicators. In terms of waste generation, total volume of waste generated by the library measured in kilograms or cubic meters. Recycling rate, percentage of waste that is recycled, composting rate, amount of organic waste composted, paper consumption, quantity of paper used for printing and other purposes, sustainable procurement, percentage of library supplies and materials purchased from sustainable sources. And to continue with this, potential environmental indicators for library-specific donut economy model in context of water use indicator, total water consumption measured in gallons or liters per year, in terms of water efficiency, use of water-efficient fixtures, in terms of stormwater management, implementation of green infrastructure to manage stormwater runoff, carbon footprint indicators would be including greenhouse gas emissions, total carbon footprint of the library, including emissions from energy use, transportation and waste, transportation emissions, emissions from staff and patron commuting, in terms of carbon offsets, investment in carbon offsets projects to mitigate emissions, and the land and biodiversity indicator would include green space, amount of green space on library grounds, biodiversity, assessment of local biodiversity and efforts to protect and enhance it, and sustainable land management practices to reduce the environmental impact of landscaping and ground maintenance. We can go even further in terms of what we have been talking about yesterday, applying donut economic model to the digital sector. We could end up with something which actually doesn't exist yet, but I call it digital donut. And using social foundation indicators and ecological ceiling indicators for digital economy. So it would be like digital literacy to measure the digital literacy, access to digital skills and education, digital inclusion, ensuring equitable access to digital technologies, job opportunities, creation of sustainable digital jobs, social support, digital platforms for social support and community building. So for the ecological ceiling indicators for digital economy, it could be energy consumption, monitoring and reducing energy use in data centers and devices, e-waste management, strategies for reducing electronic waste, carbon footprint, tracking and minimizing carbon emissions from digital operations, resource efficiency, optimizing resource use in digital infrastructure. So if we go back to the theory and the concept of digital degrowth, which tackles the excessive consumption of digital technology that became a key driver of climate crisis, ecological breakdown, and ongoing societal instability. And as we mentioned yesterday, tech solutions do not optimize for values like democracy, equality, solidarity, and sustainability. We do really need a critique of the very ideology of the digital, and we are in need to demystify invisibility of computational operations by bringing them out from behind the veil of technical obfuscation. So, in this last map that we didn't talk about yesterday, of Vladan Joller and Kate Crawford, called Calculating Empires, a genealogy of technology and power since 15th century. It depicts a historical and contemporary investigation of systems of communication, computation, classification, and control. So that's why I've kept saying we are talking about continuities, not any discontinuities. Doesn't matter, we speak about the new digital media, new digital era. And this was this is taken from yesterday's wrap out of understanding of artificial intelligence and as a register of power, which is based on violent data extraction, human labor exploitation, and ecological destruction of environmental resources. We are in a position to foster these debates and challenges ahead of us, and especially if we want to include and engage libraries within this. We are kind of usually forgetting that libraries should be revising their consumption patterns, their resource management, their waste production, and their practices and policies, but as well as analyzing what markets and ideas they are supporting with their purchases, services, and activities. So I was talking yesterday about various angles of critiques of technology. And the very reason for that was that, as Cory Doctorow puts it, fixing tech isn't more important than fixing everything else. Social inequality, climate change, violence, discrimination, etc. But unless we fix tech, we can forget about winning any of those other fights. And that's why I insist so much on being aware that technology use and abuses, although we perceive it, and mainstream perception is that it's all about progress of our societies. So the tech is now the cause and amplifies, intensifies all of these problems that we are bringing with ourselves for a long period of time. Social inequality, violence, discrimination, social inequality, or recently climate change. But tech is not solving the problem. It's actually making things even more worse. Why I keep telling it? Because we rarely face ourselves and with the environmental impact of artificial general intelligence. For artificial intelligence to respond to natural language way, it has to be trained on large amounts of data. And it is highly energy consuming. It produces immense carbon emissions. It needs a hell of a lot of water usage. And there are regional disparities in this context as well. So, for the sake of your knowledge or information, I'll just indicate here a couple of very frightening, let's say, or disturbing notes. Large data centers require large amounts of electricity, but they also require large amounts of water for cooling. The data processing for generative AI will require more than 4 times as much water as Denmark currently consumes annually. The demand for water for AI could be half that of UK by 2027. Generative AI such as ChatGPT multiplies the energy requirements exponentially. ChatGPT is already consuming the energy of 33,000 homes. It is estimated that the search driven by generative AI uses 5 times the energy of conventional web search. So whenever we talk or start talking about our individual responsibility in terms of being environmentally responsible, we should think also about our prompting habits that we are developing right now, which are extremely adding to the already overshooted limits of our planetary boundaries. So, environmental impact of artificial general intelligence. Some notes that might be of your interest as well. According to the AI Index report published 2 years ago by Stanford University, GPT-3 emitted carbon dioxide equivalent to 500 times emissions of a New York-San Francisco round-trip flight in 2022.
So, whole 2023 year, AI, all year, all the year?
Yeah.
All the year. So, a flight to New York, San Francisco, round.
As reported by MIT Technology Review, training a single AI model can emit more than 600,000 plus pounds of CO2 equivalent. Putting that in a context, it's about 5 times the lifetime carbon emissions of an average passenger car. Every ChatGPT query is the equivalent of pouring out half a liter of water on the ground. It uses the equivalent of half liter of water for each conversation of 20 to 50 prompts and replies. So these are the figures that show us what we usually miss also when we speak about the artificial intelligence. So I'm close to finish, and I'm going to conclude this presentation with a couple of few points. AI has a significant impact on our ecologies, requiring vast amounts of energy, water, and minerals. All of these diverse global impacts are hard to track. They are intentionally obscured by growing culture of corporate secrecy and proprietary information, as well as the complexities of supply chains, opaque labor contracting arrangements, and lack of legal imperatives for transparency and accountability. The political ecologies of contemporary technology are notoriously hard to see at scale. And I hope that I was somehow brought you nearly to the perspective in these 2 days, trying to somehow dissect the layers of the obfuscation. Automation comes at high price. While a full accounting of these costs is close to impossible, it is increasingly urgent that we understand the scale and scope of the systems that are operating out of our sight. So we are in extreme need for socially responsible professional practices, critical re-evaluation of sustainability itself. Libraries can play a crucial role in promoting the degrowth and donut economics. Library and information science is interdisciplinary science, and donut economy is interdisciplinary in its core. This model is a perfect then strategic tool for our libraries. Digital degrowth provides a transformative vision for rethinking technology role in society by aligning it with degrowth principles. It challenges the status quo of big tech dominance and advocates for a sustainable, equitable digital future that harmonizes with ecological limits. So, thank you for your patience, and thank you for your interest, and thank you for again for the opportunity to talk to you and hang around in Cernica, in Bucharest, and Romania in general. So I hope we meet again, and I hope that I inspired you a bit to use some of these insights for your future work.
Yeah, thank you very much. How many things are behind those we are used to see and to consider? I never thought to AI that related with pollution and with wasting of resources. I never. But always we are surprised. That's why we need to learn all life, and that's why we need libraries to have where to learn entire life.
Lifelong learning in libraries. That's how libraries exist.
Yeah. Okay. Any comments, any questions, any observations, if you have to share with us?
Yesterday we spoke a bit about, or you mentioned Trumpism like twice, and with it we are seeing maybe not the end of capitalism as we know it, but a refusal to continue with it, and because Trump recognizes that, well, to their convenience and advantage, that capitalism has used the idea of low prices of labor in other countries in order to maximize profits, which has which implies also abuses in environment and so forth. So I think that this degrowth doctrine, as you call it also, is part of ultimately the new world that in Christianity sometimes is desired. And in Judaism, this idea of shalom, this world of peace and justice, somehow it is becoming a reality very slowly, at least in principles. We see the blueprint arising. I think it will take time in order to take force. And someone said, a rabbi said, do not wait for miracles, make them happen. So that places the individual at a more active role in its destiny. The destiny of the earth, of humanity as a whole. So instead of ending this row of topics in a very nihilistic way, we actually can end it in a very positive light, that there is hope in the world. There are people who are thinking, who are providing options. So I see it as something very positive, and I leave the conference with this perspective, one that has a future and hope. So thank you so much.
Yeah, exactly. I was also thinking that yesterday was really, we ended up in a very dark mood, let's say, because these dystopic scenarios that I was talking about somehow trying to show you and demystify the technology itself. But today I wanted to offer you in the presentation alternatives and the concepts which are, of course, not mainstream concepts also. They are still at the margins and periphery, but they are existing. So in terms of theology of hope, it could be seen like that. Yeah.
I really, well, in the beginning of the presentation, it was really hard for me to grasp the connection between donut economy and the library, but it was really interesting that it was really practical in terms of having different indicators that could possibly measure effectiveness of the library and not only the library. I believe that most of the indicators could be applied to the whole institutions that we have, and I really like it, this practical thing. I actually do not know whether ASDAL have some common indicators among different libraries. If not, I think it may be quite interesting to have to compare each library, maybe not growth, but their performance in terms of environment, in terms of different aspects, and these indicators could actually lead us to some new ideas on what to do in the library in order to reduce something or increase something, or in terms of literacy, for example, count how many people are literate. Of course, some indicators are questionable, like literacy for adults or maybe minorities. How to measure it if no minorities come to library? And do we need to, well, like digital literacy, do we need to measure it and how to measure it? While most of the people, even old people, now successfully use the phones, tablets, and digital services. Of course, on the base level, maybe, but they're still using it. So I think these indicators are not, they're probable indicators, and we can discuss these indicators and potential indicators and add some more so that they will be quite practical and will not add too much burden to those people who are checking these indicators. So I think it's really practical and important for us. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Yeah, it really is practical, and I mention again, that's why I collaborate with my colleagues who are actually, the one is the expert for library practice, and the other one is expert in using the donut model as a tool. So those indicators are not prescribed. They are just the frame. And that's why I wanted to just mention how they could be used, but you can put your own indicators within its context. So the donut economy model is really a practical tool. It's a methodology in itself and a tool. And my PhD candidate, he used them to measure the footprint of the city of Zenica. So the donut model is mostly used for the footprint of the country, of the cities, but of course it can be used in a different, in a much smaller scale. For libraries, for institutions, for, I know in Zagreb they did it for the National Theater. So yeah, it's really practical.
Two aspects I want to speak about. First, yesterday mainly you spoke about these sensitive things regarding data, big data industry and AI industry. Did you feel somehow restricted about you speak about these ideas, because we usually don't read and we don't hear about them, only about advantages we have, and I don't know. Did you were somehow restricted or somehow I don't know, yeah, restricted and not allowed to speak about them?
Not yet, but that's why I try to somehow use my academic freedom in a way that it's not a mainstream, let's say, way, mainstream orientated, because all of my research, all these 20 years, came out of the margins and periphery of the discourses and topics and practices. So I was, for that reason, I was so detailed in terms of not being, not to be taken wrong for sometimes it could sound like a conspiracy theory, or but every of these arguments that I was presenting, that's why I insisted. It's from this book, it's from this research, it's scientific literature, it's not
Research,
it's not found on some social media or
I believe
groups.
I believe so. I am right, as you said. I believe, I believe so. I am right. This is.
Somehow it's I have a backup in my resources for what I'm exposing you to.
I congratulate for the courage and for the work you do in order to present different opinions. It's not easy to find in the world positive and only the that underline only the positive aspects of something, to find the bad consequences. It's not easy to do this work and to take this position. So it's an act of courage. And
I mean,
in Romania we have a word, maybe is international. Sorry, sometime you need courage to say that the grass is green, because the ideology says no, it's is blue. The grass is blue. You need to. Oh, the grass is green. No, So I think you are
what you mean,
this kind of person who says the grass is green, not blue.
Yeah, but I take it, for example, as my call of duty as a professor. I'm I have to try to be objective. I have to mention the one and the other side, so to make the things whole. I can use and abuse my position of authority as a professor and speak only about what I think that students should be exposed to. But I always, my way of doing things, my way of researching things, always included the other part of the medal. So I think that's how the education should look like.
Yeah.
And now I have almost 20 years of being in this position to invest my time to research, and that's maybe the answer how I ended up in such a detailed way of researching things, because that's actually what I'm paid of. That's how I perceive it. I'm paid to research. I'm paid to teach. So I want my research and my teaching to be as much as it could be objective. So for that reason, I have to cover both sides of the coin.
And the second idea is about today's presentation, donut economy paralleled with the growth donut economy model. Two models. Well, do you believe in that the growth donut model is reliable and functioning one? Because for me sounds like more a communist idea. Communist idea was based on that peoples will produce how they can, and they will take how much they need. But when the communism was applied, at least in Romania, the people tended to produce the least they can and to take the most they can. So I think this idea of controlling ourselves is mainly a religious idea. Only Christ told us to retain ourselves, to control ourselves. So I believe in this idea, but I believe this is not possible by human means to achieve, only by the Holy Spirit. So, sorry for my theological thinking. But in real life and society, we should remain to a donut model as the best, not the best, the least bad thing among the bad thing, if you understand what I want to say, is the least bad thing among the bad things. So as democracy is the least bad thing among the organizing society. And I like the growth idea, the growth donut, but I think it is mainly a religious idea, and not. In this period, we had in our country some troubles. We spoke in the car with a former candidate to Romanian presidency, Călin Georgescu, who attracted 40% of the country, maybe more, of peoples. And he mixed political ideas with nationalistic ideas and spiritual idea. Water is not H2O chemical, he said. It's an energy. He spiritualized. And when people heard him, they thought that, oh, so another Messiah. We have to welcome him. This was the profile. And I see this is very dangerous person because he mixes political with religious ideas. So I don't think works. This is what I think.
I just can't say if it would work or not, but I was able to attend their conferences and see the communities of degrowthers and theoreticians and activists from different fields. But I think that the mainstream discourses, mainstream policies, mainstream agenda prevents us of having belief that some of these things could be possible, because it can't get that easily spreaded among the population that could internationalize the whole concept and whole movement in a way which it's one of its proponents, young Japanese theoretician that I was being in a position to hear his lectures. Kohei Saito wrote recently the book called Towards the Idea of Degrowth Communism. So yeah, you're right. You well understand and perceive that there are roots of communist thought in this degrowth movement. But degrowth is a mixture of activism and scientific academic work, and it is consisted of different communities of degrowthers, and there is I would say the alliances are existent, but are not in the mainstream media. They are not, of course, the mainstream strategy for winning the next elections in our local governments. But the thing is that we speak and somehow say that we are thinking about the crisis that we are witnessing, for example, environmental crisis. But do we really believe that the planetary resources are scarce, that scarce? We live still like it won't be happening to us until it's too late to act and react.
On the edge of gap.
Yeah.
Yes, but I think that humanity is not able to do something only when we are down. We will wake up.
I know what you mean. So in that case, you believe in top-down approach, and this is a bottom-up approach for seeking solutions. Yeah.
Very interesting.
I believe that, as you said, training a large language model as one aspect of new AI technologies requires really a lot of resources. But the more they are discovering, they are finding models that need more memory, more parameters in order to work almost on the way the most big models work. So the more we are living, the more effective models become. But at the same time, they are used more. But what is more important is that these models are being optimized so much that probably really soon they will be able to fit on the mobile phone with its resources. So it makes AI available to all participants, all the libraries, all the users offline on their own devices. And I believe that one of the next, or maybe the next conference could be, we could discuss the topics of how to use AI in the libraries. Of course, in a way that it will be environment friendly and something like that. But we should, of course, remember the price of the AI. But after the price of large language models being taught is paid, then we can use them on even small devices with added benefit to what we do now. Maybe like that.
Hopefully.
Maybe I always try to find like connections to my own topics of interest. For example, I was thinking that as the devotional touched about the principle of limits, and also you talked about the task given to Adam one of being a steward, taking care of his environment and his resources. So that's actually our goal, our task as librarians, that we should be channels of this creation of awareness so that users know that this tool exists, that it requires resources, and that based on that awareness you should make decisions of being a steward, taking care of your environment, taking care of your resources, and that we are called to practice temperance, digital temperance, restraining ourselves, placing self-imposed limits, although limits tend to have a negative connotation, but yeah, boundaries, as you said, are important, but they are to be placed on us individually, voluntary, not from above being imposed, but that the individual becomes aware of his role or her role as steward of his or her environment. I think that's a great way to finish this session. Thank you so much.
Okay, so it's perfectly timed, half an hour and a half.
Yeah. So, thank you very much. I think we need a break, and then I will come in the front with a very revolutioning idea of library.